Welcome back to the channel. I really appreciate you being here, and the last couple of videos you guys made some great comments, really good comments. What I'd like to do is showcase how we create power here in this big motor home here. If you live out in a tent or a car, maybe even a van or a smaller vehicle, you won't need as much power as this one takes. I want to go back over this on how we generate power for this motorhome here. We have 2 bathrooms. We have a residential refrigerator that's electricity only. We have an electric water heater or gas. And how do we power all this stuff? To help clarify how simple a solar setup is. Also, I did some additional solar panels over here. I want to show you that and how I set this thing up. It's really something that I think is of value. Let's take a look. Now, on the roof of the RV here, I have installed 6 195 watt panels, which come out to be 1170 watts. But being here in Arizona, you see the sun in the wintertime. The sun is like a 45-degree angle. I don't really get the power of a 195 watt panel. In fact, the most you're going to get out of any solar panel is about 75, possibly 80%. What you do for that, I don't care, under the best conditions, you're not going to get 100 watts from a 100 watt solar panel. You're just not. It doesn't happen. And so what I did in order to increase my power ability to charge my batteries, I bought these 2 panels here, these 2 setups. They're 200 watts each. You'll get about 150 watts out of each one of them. You're not going to get 200 watts. But these are pretty efficient. I actually can get more. I actually get about just a little bit more than 300 of these 2 here. I also have a little 20 watt solar panel over there that I use in case I need to charge my battery. That's a battery charger. It costs $25. I actually get 16 watts out of that. Here they are, 200 watts each, and you'll get about 300, maybe 3 1/4 out of them. And what I did, they fold up, but I'm not going to fold them. I'm going to leave them on this wooden frame I built for them. And you can see I just tacked them through the folding part here, the fabric part. And this is fabric here. It's not glass. And they work really great. They're lightweight, and I had these brackets here already, fortunately. And so it's that simple. Just put them on there at a 45-degree angle, pointing toward the sun. That's it. And this little guy is a little 20 watt solar panel. It's got its own little solar charger with it. That's it. Incidentally, I run this about 2 hours every day, every night when the sun goes down, and it tops off the batteries. It'll run, I can run it like 4 hours or 5 hours on a tank of gas, which is almost a gallon. I got to finish packing up so we can get out of here. Thank you kindly. Be sure to subscribe, leave those comments. They help us all. Incidentally, Starlink works great out here in the desert. Absolutely. So now let's take a look at a clip from a video that I put up maybe a year ago. And it explains all the components of a solar system, how everything works together. And it explains some theories of electricity as well. And I think it's a good video. I think it really helps you. And you can see how simple it is to set up solar. There's 4 components. The video explains it. And there's 3 elements to electricity. The video explains that you can have power if you want it very cheap. You don't have to spend as much as this system costs. You can go with a small battery, with a small solar charger, and a small solar panel, and a small inverter. And those are the components. This video explains it. Thank you very much. We appreciate you like always. And we'll see you in Tucson. We're leaving in the morning. There's 4 major components. We're going to look at that. And we'll take a look at the 3 elements, the 3 basic elements of electricity. Let's get in and take a look at our system here. First thing we're going to take a look at is our solar panel. This is a 195 watt solar panel. And remember what watts are, right? From the film you just saw, that's the whole thing. You have to connect your battery first to the solar charger. This solar panel, in order for it to do its job, it has to have more volts than the battery. You look at it, kind of look at it like an air compressor. If you want to inflate a tire, you have to have more air pressure in the air compressor than you do in the tire you're trying to inflate, or whatever it is you're trying to inflate. The solar panel actually produces 23.5 volts. It goes into the solar charger. Exactly that, it controls the volts that go into the battery. Without the solar charger, if you connected the solar panel directly to the battery, it would burn it up, because that battery would be getting 23.5 volts. So how do you determine what size solar charger you need? That for every 100 watt, you'll need 10 amps of solar charger. If you had 1,000 watts, you need at least 100 amp solar charger. In this case, we have almost 200. We have 195 watts. We will need at least a 20 amp solar charger, which is what this is. That's a 20 amp solar charger. This is an MPPT solar charger. What that means is maximum power point tracking. It is the best solar charger that you can have. But this is a 30 amp solar charger right here, charge controller, that you can get for under $10. This is a PWM solar charger. They're not as efficient as the MPPT. They don't do well in certain lighting conditions, and they charge slower, but they work and they're cheap. So let's get on to some other aspects here. That is a 100 amp lithium ion phosphate battery right here. Not going to have any problems with a lithium ion phosphate battery if you don't overcharge it and you don't let it get too hot. That's when you see all these troubles, not only with lithium batteries, but any battery that's overcharged and gets too hot, you're going to have a problem with it. If nothing else, you're going to degrade your battery. So you don't want to do that. You don't have to have a battery this big. If you're just out tent camping and you just want some electricity to charge your devices, maybe you want some lighting, maybe you want to run your laptop, this sort of thing. Let's take a look at our inverter. But the key word here is pure sine wave. That what you get from the power company. If you are not powering sophisticated equipment like computers and some smart TVs, and I have a residential refrigerator, and it actually has a little computer board in it. So I don't want to run it off just a regular inverter. I want pure sine wave inverter. But you don't have to have this. You can have a cheap little 600 watt inverter that will charge, like I say, charge all your devices, even operate a television for it. Let's go back to watts, volts, and amps. Let's take a look at watts. You can look at almost anything in watts, volts, and amps. How about a train going through a tunnel? The tunnel is the electrical cable. The train itself, the entire train, is the watts. That's the work. That's the full power comparable to a solar panel. The volts are the wheels on the ground, the wheels on the track, propelling the train through the tunnel, are the electrical cable. And what are the amps? That's how fast the train is moving through the tunnel, or electricity is moving through the cable. Now, the point of telling you all that right here, the more watts you add, the more power you have. So the more panels you add, the more power you have. Your voltage will stay the same, but your ability to do work will double if you add another panel to this. Your volts will stay the same. Charge controller you need is to look at your wattage. You have a 200 watt solar panel, you'll need 10 amp solar charger for every 100 watts. It's just that simple. It really is that simple. It's not hard at all. This solar panel is a DC, direct current solar panel. Incidentally, that's the electricity that Thomas Alva Edison developed back in the 1800s. We're out here in the desert, right? Let's see what we can do here. We turn our inverter on, plug up the fan. Can we run a hairdryer at the same time? Let's see, we're at 13.5 volts. You can only run it for so long. This is probably 1500 watts. You'd be able to run this about 45 minutes before you ran the battery completely down. And you don't want to do that. So let's see if we can run a hairdryer. So we're going to turn on our hairdryer. Keep the eye on the volts, and you'll see how they drop considerably. Now remember, we can run this hairdryer as long as we have enough power in the battery. That solar panel will continually resupply this battery just a lot slower than if you had 3 or 4 of these solar panels. Let's see. Up. See the drop? That's on low. Let's put it on high. We run a fan in our hairdryer. But it took so much energy. Right now we're pulling about 450 watts. Let's see if it can take high for any amount of time. $1,500 watts we were pulling. Let's start out from the beginning. You take your pure sine wave inverter, 2000 watt. This is a cheap Chinese job. I've been running a cheap Chinese job on this unit for 5 years. It's still working fine. You simply do your hookup back here with the appropriate cables. That's all going to depend on what size your inverter is and what size battery in your inverter. That's what's going to make the difference. We've connected our negative to the battery and our positive to the battery, and I've connected and we connect the charge controller to the battery second. I just put some clamps on there for demonstration purposes, but these two come around and go into, I made the little stand here, and here they connect into the battery positive, the battery negative. The solar panel battery, or the solar panel positive, and the solar panel negative. It's really quite simple. It is not hard to do. You take a look at the solar charger, and you can see that we're making energy. We're actually, from the solar panel to the solar charger to the battery, we're making energy. We are inflating the battery right now. We're filling it up. We're putting energy in the battery. Now we have our inverter connected to the battery, right? Connected to the battery. And now we can use our energy appropriately. So that's a battery bank. This particular system is what I had on hand. This panel here is about $170. This is about the same, so that's about $350 or $340. This battery is right around $2. So that's about $540, and this is about $2. So you're talking about $700 for this setup, $800 for this setup, but you don't have to go that high. Okay, let's do a recap here. You got your pure sine wave inverter. It doesn't have to be pure sine wave. You can buy a really cheap 600 watt inverter, but it's best to have something that is the cleanest energy you can get. You got your inverter. We've got your battery connected to the inverter. It's right here. We've got your solar charger, charge controller, connected to the battery. You do that first, and then lastly, you connect your solar panel right here to your solar charger. This is made by Renergy. I like the Renergy. This is a 20 amp MPPT charge controller. I never had any trouble out of these. Our storage power. This is for storage. This is for application. This is to control the system. And this is your watts. This is your power. That's going to go through the charge controller into the battery, connect to the inverter. Incidentally, you hear people say we run off solar. You're not running off solar, you're running off battery. It's just solar is how you're charging it. You can charge it various ways.